Happy Tuesday. I just love how y'all will wake me up in the morning and like continue the conversation from the night before. So, okay, what I realized when I woke up this morning, that pattern we talked about last night, how white academia bloats language and that it's part of a much larger and older, deeper sickness. Historically, they've been doing the same thing with everything. Like they steal something alive, something born in color and rhythm, and then they bleach it, puff it up, and call that progress or civilized. That's what they did with nursing. That's what they did with art. Like just a lot of almost everything, but especially scripture. Like they steal from Black and indigenous cultures, strip out the flavor, the heartbeat, the soul, and they keep just enough of the skeleton to make it look kind of legitimate. And then they stuff it full of filler, like empty, vainglorious filler. Just like the way they process food. They take the fruit, remove the seed, the very thing that carries the life and the phytonutrients, the truth of the fruit, and they replace it with something genetically modified, something shiny, mass-produced, that looks real, but isn't. That's exactly what happened with the Bible. That's what I was thinking this morning. They thought they could extract the principles of the text and still outsmart the Most High and manipulate him by repackaging his word as if they know better and can make it better. That's exactly how Satan operated. But what they made was this GMO gospel, a hollow imitation that lacks the seed, the living truth, the spirit that gives life. And they renamed it Christianity. Something with no nation. It has no roots, no language, no phytonutrient, just an abstract brand that could be reshaped by whoever holds the power. And that's why it keeps changing definitions. It mutates over decades and centuries. That's why it's so easy to manipulate, because it's not anchored in the seed, the covenant. It's not anchored in Yah's house and his covenant. Everything else in the scripture is a people, a nation, a lineage. But Christian, it's this abstract idea. It's this floating label that can be whitewashed and just sold worldwide. The real word doesn't move like that. Truth is steady, like a tree planted by the water, like the scripture says. It doesn't bend to the trends. It doesn't rebrand itself every generation. Even Satan masquerades as an angel of light. And that's exactly what colonizers did when they flipped the text and revised it. They pulled off the greatest caper ever. They flipped the story upside down, painted themselves as the chosen ones, and then built an empire off of a counterfeit covenant. And now we're living in the fruit of that deception. A world system that's producing oppression for everyone. And I mean everyone, even their own people. That's how we get the angry voters and rioters that we have now during Trump's administration. Because when you tamper with Yah's design, you end up poisoning yourself too. Duh. That's why this isn't just history. It's psychology. It's like epigenetics. It's the perfect display of the clinical definition of narcissism. You try to look holy, you steal the truth to wear as a costume, but you can't sustain what you don't have the spirit and the true organic seed for. So what do? You start to control the narrative. You control, you oppress, you rewrite, you build a religion that mirrors your sickness in order to validate your sickness. They like literally cut off their own nose to spite their face and then try to call that civilization. Matter of fact, one of the ways that you know it's genetically modified, it's not the real organism, to have the seed, you've got to have the covenant. The covenant is Yah's laws. Every single nation, literally every nation on earth, has a set of laws by which it is governed. Where are Christianity's laws? How does this new covenant, new nation govern itself? By what? If you just think about a covenant, literally visualize a covenant. It is an instrument of agreements. An instrument of agreements. That means there's a set of agreements written on a paper. It is an instrument, meaning a tool to help you be accountable, to help you remain accountable to whomever you're entering into a covenant with. So if there really is a new covenant, where is it? What does your new instrument of agreements tell you that you must do in order to remain in covenant? Prove the new covenant. Show it to us. because I've never seen it. I was a Christian for 35 plus years. I've never seen a new instrument of agreements anywhere in the New Testament. I'm just saying. We keep throwing around these words, and the issue is really, here's the truth. Christianity has an instrument of covenants. It's just not in the Bible, because the people who hijacked the Bible are not in the Bible either. They are from a whole nother region that was never included in the scriptures. And from their region and their worldview, they brought in, when they stole the covenant and tried to mix and merge them together, what they did was overlay their English laws of coverture. That's their instrument of agreements. That's the covenant, that English laws of coverture, that's the covenant that they laid on top, mixed into the covenant that is Yah's law. That is the instrument of agreements that you come into agreement with when you decide to follow Christianity. And that's why it is so easy to dismantle when you compare it to scripture. Because when you compare the man-made doctrine of Christianity to the actual word, in Yah's word, his covenant, they don't match up. Some parts, they look very similar, because the Bible said, for even Satan masquerades as an angel of light. But when you actually closely compare, and when you rightly divide the word, you start to recognize that the other covenant is a counterfeit. Very easily you can recognize. And the funny thing is, this is why it's the greatest caper. They had to gaslight everybody out of even looking in the law, so that you would refocus your attention on their false covenant, the English laws of coverture, and just begin to adopt it. This is what happens when it's literally global scale kidnapping. What they do is when a kidnapper takes someone, they strip them of their real identity. And they say, you no longer are this, you no longer follow this, all the rules, everything you knew from before, forget about it. You're not allowed to remember it. We're going to beat it, hang it, burn it out of you, scare the living daylights and abuse it out of you until you forget who you are and where you came from. And then once we break your spirit, we're going to now reteach you our covenant, our false covenant, the English laws of coverture. And you're going to adopt this because it's close enough. It looks close enough. And what we'll do is we'll find the areas where our coverture kind of looks like your covenant and convince you that it's really the same thing. It's close enough. And we will gaslight you and rewrite history for centuries. We will write the book through our coverture lens. We will teach the book through our coverture lens until we successfully gaslight all Black, Indigenous, people of color, and nations, and our own people, that this is the true covenant. This is like no greater example than this. Truly encapsulates that phrase, imitated but never duplicated. You can copy all you want to, but without the real seed, you get the fruit that we have today. Everything about Christianity looks genetically modified. It doesn't hold up. Christianity crumbles when you put it up against the actual truth of Yah's covenant. You can dismantle it so easily, every time. It's truly the greatest caper known to man. The global scale, I just can't even find a word for this level of trickery. And so that's why I always default back to Psalm 83, verses 3-5. They have taken crafty counsel against us. The wild thing, though, the other day I realized that scripture doesn't list a single nation from Europe. All the nations that are listed there, none of them are European. We'll save that for later.